Hey guys, God bless. This is a part two to a video I did back in 2018 entitled 40-Day Warning Before the Mark of the Beast. And then the rest of the quote is becomes mandatory. At the time of the video, what the Lord shows me, I convey it. I'm not a prophet or anything like that. I don't hear words or, um, direct quotes from the Lord, but He helps me, mine this information. And as I was going through some things today, I realized something, and that's what I want to make this part two. I studied Mayday extensively, and I realized that there's a connection between the Mark of the Beast and Mayday. And there's a series of videos I did, and also a channel by the name of Seek and Ye Shall Find that they did. And there's a lot of pagan rituals. There's a lot of things that are tied to Mayday and the Mark of the Beast. The first and easiest one to see is the maypole, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But the maypole is simply a phallus with streamers, and the streamers is, of course, the seed of the serpent or the DNA, and that's where you get the seeds mingling together. So as I started playing this video, just kind of as a refresher, the first thing I said in here is there's definitely a connection between the Mark of the Beast and Mayday. Mayday is the 121st day of the year. That said, Strong's number, H120, which if you don't know what Strong's is, a guy named Mr. Strong, I think he's Albert Strong, I'm not sure on the first name, but he went through and numbered every word in the Bible, and each word has an assigned number and meaning that coincides with it. Anyway, the 121st word, H120, is also Strong's number for mankind, which is Adam. And that kind of intrigued me because essentially what they want to do is create their own Adam, their own mankind. Right now, by way of the Mark of the Beast or any of that, nothing is mandatory as of right now. However, we are living in a very dark and strange time where strange demands are being put on people and how they can act and what they can do and what's acceptable and what's not. And as a result of that, people are slowly waking up to the truth. I'll give you an example. I did a research today in Twitter and I do searches, and I saw that a lot of people are asking questions like, what the hell's going on? What's this patent 606060? What's this HR 6666? And all this stuff with going along with the COVID. And people are asking questions and they're wondering what's going on and why this is happening, why people are lying. If you Google Italy's parliament, there was a speaker there that stood up. I'm not sure when this happened. I assume a few days ago. Stood up and just went off like, you are lying to us. You're not telling us the truth. Blah blah blah. There's not really this many people dead, or they died of other reasons. And he goes on and on and on. And there's several people, and there's several nurses and doctors and policemen, and everyone's coming forward, and they're like, wake up, people. This is not what you think. Is the disease real? Yes, of course it's real. But we are not getting the full Monty of what's going on. That is for sure. So here's the series I did, and I just put a couple screenshots in here just to show you. This is Seek and Ye Shall Find. She did several videos here, and this is mine. It's got its own playlist. I'm going to add this one next to it down here in part two. And it talks about Mayday, and it talks about the great cry. In Egypt, there was a great cry. Jesus cried on the cross. Paul cried out, but he didn't know who to cry out to. He didn't know who was Lord. He persecuted Christians. This great cry happens in Egypt when the firstborn are taken. That's a moment of realization. Is this great cry? Remember the churches being burned around this time a few years ago. May Day also has ties to socialist history, International Workers' Day, which goes back to enslavement for the money. We're enslaved to the system, just like Israelites were enslaved to making Egypt great. We're enslaved to make the elite great. So this all has ties. And then you got the Wicker Man, all right, which goes back to the Burning Man festival, which goes back to um, burning Christians for their faith and killing Christians for their faith. So this all has, you get the Green Man and all this stuff. It all is tied together, and it's very hard to research because there's so many little shoots to go off of. All right, but this is you do your own research, and what I do is I open a wiki document and I start clicking on all the blue. What's this? What's this? What's this? And just start researching and looking. I look at the etymology of things. I look at the word meanings. So before I give out the reason for this video, I want you to draw a few connections that make you aware of what we're talking about. The first thing that should catch your attention is that May 1st is the birthday of the Illuminati. That was the first thing that I saw. I was like, okay, wow. All right, May Day, birthday of the Illuminati. Makes sense when you start looking at these things. Killing Christians, Wicker Man, burning them, all these different things. The church burning, the church being destroyed. And it kind of goes from there. This is just a couple of wiki. This is the founder. This is the date, 1 May. It's not too hard to find that out. So if we go to May Day, May 1st, we also have another May Day, which is the International Distress Call. May Day, like a plane's going down, emergencies occurring. The day and the call of emergency are not related, so to speak, but there are a lot of similarities to what's going on with the two of them. May Day was adopted as an international distress call by a pilot in 1921. He chose this phrase based upon the French word "m'aider" or "venez m'aider," come help me, which reminded me of call upon the name of the Lord and thou shalt be saved. Come help me. I need help. Come help me. Take me out of this mess. With that, we find ourselves in what? We're in a pandemic. Okay. Right now, it's not bad. You can still go get your Starbucks. You can still go, get your Chick-fil-A or whatever it is. You just can't really eat out. Got to kind of stay home. The whole social distancing thing, the wear a mask in some places you may not. Whatever it is, however you're coping with it, that's totally on you. But right now we're in this pandemic, or the stages of where things are being in place that we've never had to deal with as a country. All right, we've never had to deal with social distancing, never had to deal with closing this or that, or the economy taking a hit because of this, and restaurants taking a hit because of it. All these things are starting to manifest. The foundations are being laid. All right. So this pandemic, which has caused a panic or fear, all right, is based upon the COVID-19 pandemic. Another distress call was called pan, which means a breakdown. And it's also used primarily, it's no longer used, but it was a medical emergency. You look here in this wiki cutout, pan from the French word panie or breakdown or panne indicates, an urgent situation such as mechanical failure or medical problem. We're in a pandemic, a medical problem. Now, pandemic comes from two words, pan and demos. Pan, you could talk about this creepy guy for hours on end. Horns of a goat, fertility, uh, so many different things you can sit down and think about. Panera Bread Company, all these different things coming from the word pan. All right, essentially he's a false god, he's a fallen god who has this persona. All right, and the persona is described generally in Wikipedia. Horns, half man, half goat, has a flute, does this, does that, very sexually aroused, often affiliated with sex, fertility, springtime. Okay, here we go. Now, if you scroll down a little further, there's also this identification with Satan. Pan's goat image recalls faun-like depictions of Satan, although Christians in blah, blah, blah story, it goes on. So, is he Satan? Is this Pan Satan? Well, let me ask you this. The Bible does one thing I think very well, and it kind of gets confusing, but it's pretty awesome how it does it. The Bible will use many types of animals or other symbols to depict personalities or traits. For example, Jesus is referred to as the Lion of Judah. He's also the Lamb of God. He's also the good shepherd. He's also the bright morning star. And I could go on and on and on. Those depict or show different traits of Christ. Coming back as a judge, right here, laid down his life as a lamb. He shepherds the sheep. He's the bright morning star, all right, which gets into a whole other things. But anyway, so you can refer to Jesus as all these different things. I think Satan does the same thing. I think he's also copied this. And I think this is what we're seeing Pan as Satan or Lucifer. This may sound like a real reaction because you could say, well, everything's evil. That's Satan. Well, in actuality, it is. But what you got to do is assign jobs or assign traits. And I think this is a satanic trait of what we're seeing right now. So yes, I do think this trait of Pan is satanic or demonic. Compare the two here. They're obviously connected. So by definition, what does Pan mean? Pan means all inclusive, everyone, etc. Worm form meaning all, everyone, whole, all inclusive from the Greek word pan, right there. And demos means people. Remember our H120, mankind. So pan in all the people. Pan in all the people. Pandemic. Pandemonium. You've seen the connection here. Control. This allows control. They've also put us into a position by using fear. They're using fear. They're using shock factor, intimidation, probably in a lot of cases. And we want or expect some sort of relief or vaccination that we can use to go back to normal. We all want to go back to normal. That's all you hear. I want to go back to normal. When things going to go back to normal? Hey, when things get back to normal, we're going to go on vacation. Hey, when things get back to normal, etc., etc., etc. This vaccination that will come at an appointed time by God will be part of the mark of the beast system. Pan wants to be in all the people, all inclusive, all joined. So how do I prove that? Well, another word for vaccine is inoculation. To inoculate, all right, means to graft. Etymology of inoculation. Horticulture, usage, meaning to graft or bud. Now, Jesus tells us in his word that I am the vine, you are the branches. And some of us have been grafted in. And that means been made part of the original tree because of our dedication to him. Wow, that word dedication. So if you take this vaccine or you take this mark of the beast, and I'm saying the vaccine is the mark or vice versa, but it's going to be a part of it, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, this horticulture use to graft, to bud, it's the same thing Jesus talks about in his Bible constantly. He talks about pruning us. He talks about trimming us. He talks about taking the dead and throwing it into the fire. Satan's doing the same exact thing. He wants to graft or bud or eye, does that sound familiar? Or eye from one plant to another. For control. New World Order control. Grafting, graftage. Horticultural technique so that they can continue their growth together. This is going to be the unity BS that they're going to throw up. Makes you want to throw up. Anyway, that's to bud, the eye, to a bud or eye, graft together, bringing in together. Pan, all inclusive. Demos, the people. Natural phenomena in which trunks, branches, or roots of two trees grow together. It's biologically similar to grafting, and such trees are referred to forestry as gemelles, in the Latin word meaning a pair. So then I noticed this. Obviously, this is big news in the truth community. I get that. But look what day it came out. I didn't even realize this. May 1st, 2020. The 121st day of the year. Mankind. Pandemic. Now, I'm not an expert on this, okay? I've read it. You should read it. You should look at it. It's out there. There's many people. There's a lot of videos that of people that are much smarter than I that can talk about it. But essentially, um, it's a bill that would make testing and quarantine mandatory, and in the privacy of your own home, which is no longer private. Um, anyway, the we'll pull it up and take a look at it while we're here. Okay, so here's the bill's website, congress.gov. You know, if you want to be a good Marine, research this guy. Okay, he's got some interesting things about him. But anyway, so this is it, and here's the summary. So let's click on that and check this out. And whoops, wrong thing. Now, at first glance of this bill, I'm talking about first glance, it doesn't look like much, honestly. However, do you think they're going to come right out and just say, hey, no, they need to build up things. And as things increase, as problems increase, maybe the COVID gets worse, or maybe we go to war, or maybe famine becomes so horrible that food becomes so hard to get that they need to control issuing food. So they need a foundation to build on. This could be that foundation. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but this is very sketchy stuff, very sketchy things going on. And it talks about, and we have here to hire and train. A lot of people are seeing right now articles in their local papers or whatever, you know, usgovernment.jobs.gov, whatever, for these people to go around and check homes for people with COVID and testing material. So the Secretary of Health and Human Services, acting through the Director of Centers of CDC and Prevention, may award grants to eligible entities to conduct and diagnose testing for COVID-19 to trace and monitor the contacts of infected individuals and to support the quarantine of such contacts through mobile health units, testing, providing individual services. So obviously they're not going to come out and say anything evasive. But what you got to understand is the language of this. And that's where you got to click on these little things to find out, well, what does eligible entity mean? Well, then you got to come down here and say, well, eligible entity term means, click here and go there and start looking things up. So it takes some digging to get into, but it's $100 billion bill. And that doesn't sound like some people going around and going door to door and just testing to make sure you're okay. That sounds like a lot more money involved than that. And that's what you need to be aware of. Again, I'm not here to pick this bill apart. I'm telling you it's not good, and it's not of God. I can promise you that. Okay? And you've seen the connections. The connections are there, all right, of what's going on. Talk a little bit real quick about the temple of God real quick. And I'm not going to pull up scripture right now, just for simple, I'm just going to talk this through, okay? But what I want to talk to you about is when Moses was first told by God to build a temple, the Lord told Moses and said, I want you to go through the people of Israel, and I want you to build this temple based upon donations. And they gave him donations of, you know, linens and jewelry and gold and different things that they had to build this temple for God to lead them. And it was their own personal sacrifices that they gave up to build this tabernacle. All right, and I'm talking about tabernacle when they were in the desert with Moses, people of Israel. All right, they built this tabernacle based upon the sacrifices of the people. Or hey, I can give you this, or I have, I got, linens over here. I have jewelry that I've kept for years, or I'm a jewelry maker, or whatever, and I'll help make the ornaments in the temple. That's how God wanted it to be done. All right. Fast forward to Solomon, and it was all based on merchandising and trade and I'll give you this if you give me that. Okay? The temple now, which is our, of course, us, we are the temple where Christ dwells. Our sacrifices, prayer, education, helping people see, uh, taking care of the poor, taking care of the people that are less fortunate. That's how you offer up sacrifices now for the Lord. Okay, do you see that? You got to see that before I move on. It's these personal sacrifices that go up so God will dwell with you. Okay? What do you see going on right now? What's being taken from us? What are our sacrifices that we're giving up right now? We're giving up our freedom. I can't go walk the Appalachian Trail because it's closed. All right. We can't go out for dinner in a restaurant. We can't, we can't really go to a park with a family. You can't have a family gathering or get together out in public for the 6 foot rule. So we're giving up all these things, and who's to gain? It's the government. Their idol, their temple, their worship is gaining that. All right. We're giving up things, but it's not for our God, or should be our God. It's for theirs. Anyway, those are the sacrifices that were given up that obviously go completely counter against God, who's a God of freedom. And anyway, God bless you guys. I'll leave you with that. Take care.